right, what's up, party people? So I'm hacking up a lung here, but I was actually going to record a little frequency language transmission, and I read a comment from one of our covens on a post I'd made in Coven of One, and I wanted to share a little quick transmission with you. So he was mentioning how he often has these very profound shower thoughts and gets interviewed on the astral plane while in the shower. And this all stems from a masterclass that I recorded for Coven of One about the hydrogen healing and regeneration technology, 101, basic. It's the draining transmuted energy method of clearing, utilizing the lymphatic drainage system and water technology. And I actually channeled the entire technology and what it's used for and how we use it, which will be, this is the basic masterclass. That is kind of giving the overview of the technology, and then there's a bunch of the hydrogen frequency is one of the leaders of multidimensional restoration, regeneration, and healing technologies. They partnered with the Syrians eons ago, and a few other multidimensional homies, and really made some leaps and bounds in utilizing regeneration technology for vessels, planets, entire universes, to restore resonance to a being, right? So so one of our covens mentioned that he gets interviewed a lot, and I wanted to real quick share this technique with you. He doesn't know it. He's gonna laugh his ass off. He's one of my OG BFFs across space and time, but he's actually using one of the techniques that has manifested so many of the things that have happened to me into my life. So this is an example of the Syrian neural network technologying. Because it's a technique that is utilized to align you with a timeline. So the technique, I'm going to share it with you here now. It is actually a technique that I have used in manifestation. In fact, I'm pretty sure I even talk about the interview technique in the brand new manifestation program that I have that's currently releasing in Luxury Witch Lifestyle, Manifestation Rebooted. I recorded an entire brand new grid manifestation 101 program, all the basics that you need to know to effectively, align with the frequencies that build the timelines of your manifestations, right? At the end of 2023, and then I promptly forgot that I recorded. It's 12 or 13 parts, I think. I promptly forgot that I recorded it, and then remembered that I recorded it a little bit earlier this year, and so it's currently only available in Luxury Witch Lifestyle. I'm not doing an external launch or release of Manifestation Rebooted at this time, because I've just got, honestly, so much that I'm doing with Witchery U. It is not conducive to my energy to have to package up my individual things and sell them. If you want to access my work, you're going to need to access a tier of Witchery U. I've literally curated, when you Coven of One is the most foundational tier of Witchery U, the most comprehensive foundational tier. We have some individual things that you can join, portal keepers, or the frequency language transmission subscription that's coming, stuff like that. But it's the first comprehensive tier of information about my work. And you literally get access to, I think it's $5,000 or $6,000 of content, instant access. And we add to it all the time. So, it's a really fabulous way. All of the tiers of Witchery U are really fabulous ways to work with me and access my content. I was doing the numbers for, I've got to go in and actually put everything together. But I was doing the numbers for like all of the content that's included in the Cosmic Coaching Collective, and it's something like $30,000 worth of content for $18.81 a month. So it's really it's a really fabulous way to access so much knowledge, so much information, and we're kind of always adding to that. So so with this interview technique, what you do is you envision yourself getting interviewed about your magic. That's it. You should act it out, though. I used to do this in the shower, and I still do it sometimes. A lot of the time, I'm really just thinking and like focusing on what I'm going to do next with Witchery U right now, honestly. I don't do a lot of the interview technique at this moment in time. But when I was doing the interview technique all the time, I ended up manifesting, which means I aligned with the frequency of the timeline where I was interviewed by LUK about witchcraft. I was interviewed for Newsweek about witchcraft. I was randomly surprise featured for numerologist.com, which I thought was really cool. I actually ended up getting way more clients from the this is a funny fact. I got way more clients and way more followers from the numerologist.com feature than the Newsweek and the LUK features combined. So when you're looking at things that you might want to get featured in, bigger's not always better. More aligned is better, because the numerologist.com feature, it was like, I think they called it something like 12 witchy Instagrammers that break the old crone mold or something like that, right? They had a very aligned audience to my target market. So it did way more for my brand. It did way more for my business, and it did way more for my bank account. So that's something you want to keep in mind. Sometimes people really will like focus on, the vanity names, right? But to be honest, like a lot of your average person isn't that interested in most of the stuff that honestly magical people are interested in. So you might manifest, something that seems smaller, quote unquote, in the matrix. Like, for example, in the matrix, numerologist.com is nothing compared to Newsweek. But the numerologist.com feature did so much more because I don't live in the matrix, right? I don't have a muggle business, like none of that. So you just imagine yourself getting interviewed, or like with that, it was funny. With that one, I had been like envisioning a lot of like interviews while I would walk around my house at night. Like it was the most random thing, and I don't even really know why it was happening. But it's almost like I was being like trained on the astral plane by my guides. That's probably exactly what was happening. Like they were, telling me like, hey, this is, stuff's coming. So, let's get you ready for it. But one of them, I remember like I would literally, it was during COVID, right? So I had a lot of like, free time at night on my hands. I lived by myself. And I would like wander around my house, and I would imagine the house that I wanted to live in the future with my husband, who I was still, manifesting, and hadn't manifested Michael yet. And I would envision being interviewed about like the most random shit, like my home decor, like my lamps. Like I've always wanted this really big pair of lamps. Like, I don't know if you know the lamps I'm talking about, but back in like, I don't know, mid-century-ish eras, there were these just massive lamps. I mean, the lamps were huge in the 70s, 80s, right? I mean, there would just be huge lamps. Well, the crazy part is, get this, you guys, when I ended up meeting Michael and moving in with him, I moved into the house that was his grandmother's house. And his grandmother had this first of all, I mean, Emma came in clutch with the lamp collection, okay? Like, we have so many gorgeous Tiffany lamps now. They're amazing. Okay, like Emma's lamp collection I was like, this woman is an icon. I mean, I love lamps, you guys. I love lamps so much, okay? I love lamps. They do so much for your lighting and your aesthetic and your mood and your vibes, But she had this one lamp. It's it's like 2.5 feet tall minimum, okay? It's not a floor lamp. It's a table lamp. But it's huge. It's orange. I mean, you have to the lamp takes up almost an entire table by itself. Like, this thing's huge, right? So back in like 2020, I was envisioning myself getting interviewed about my magic and my brand. And it was very like vague. And then I was, for some reason, I was talking about my fabulous, home decor and my textiles and my lamps and my art and things, because that's stuff that's important to me, right? So, and it's things that, all my home decor is magical. My lighting is magical. It's all charmed. It's all magicked. It's all this and that, right? It's all spelled. It's all got a purpose. There's an intention behind literally every single minute aspect of my existence and everything around me. That's just how I live. So, nothing is by chance, at all. So, I was envisioning things, and that's key, that's important. I was envisioning things that were very accurate to my frequency. So I was literally walking around my house, envisioning a different timeline, but utilizing my home at the time, to have my little interview, right? Just thinking about how I would, if I was asked certain questions, how I would respond, kind of workshopping with myself. If I didn't really, it really helped me to start to talk about my brand and my business and my magic on an even higher level. That also led to the 2 highest years that I had as a professional witch. I ended up effortlessly, it was I could just align with more and more and more aligned clients. I could tune in to people who absolutely wanted to pay what I wanted to receive, who wanted to work with someone on the level that I wanted to work with someone on. I was not interested in clients who wanted to come get one spell for $59. That was not my bag, okay? Even back in 2018, I was exclusively focusing on, I wanted to work with clients who wanted to invest $800 to $3,000 per month in themselves and work with a very multidimensional, magical mentor, guide, coach through the energy and frequency of witchcraft. Yeah, Fred. Fred was like, yeah, she did. But that was my standard and my energy in 2018. 7 years ago. Okay. So I also have just a different level than most people do because I've already lived so much more than most people have. Just to be honest, it was funny. Last night we were streaming a Club Witchery and I was like, wow. Sometimes I say things that have happened in my actual lived this lifetime incarnational experience. I have photos of this stuff and I'm still like, wow, that sounds like literally that sounds like a soap opera. That sounds like a, tabloid story. That sounds like I lived a very, especially in my 20s, I was very focused on, very much tuning into this iconic celebrity energy. I mean, I really achieved micro celebrity status in Dallas. I could not go out on a, just regular nightly basis without somebody recognizing me and asking for a selfie or, whatever. It's been described a few times as, I feel like this is what it's like to go out with a rock star. That was said. Just about going to the club with me. It was really wild. So, I definitely tuned into that. And I gotta be real. I personally really didn't like it. It got to a point where, it felt very exhausting to constantly have to, talk to people. I'm just going to be honest. When you're trying to just go get a drink somewhere or you just want to relax or you've been talking to people all week, it got to a point where I didn't want to be recognized anymore. You know what I mean? I actively didn't want, I didn't want that anymore because I've already lived it. And it's not as glamorous as you think. It's not very fun. I'm going to be honest. I didn't find it very fun. I'm sure that there are some people out there who do, but personally, I think it's actually really not good for people on an energetic level, to feel like they constantly have to not have their own experiences and just be available for other people. And that's the celebrity wound, which is a different transmission. But it did a lot of damage to me. And that's also one of the reasons why, if you've been around for a while, you will have seen me take basically a 3-year hiatus off of being terribly out there on the internet, and I'll never go back to doing the things that I'll never go back to like living the way that I did or creating content the way that I did. It was an era and it's gone. Like, I mean, it's really, and it was difficult for me to like tune into the fact that I can't do that anymore. But I finally have, I mean, I could if I wanted to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to limit myself. So I don't want to like put it into anybody else's head that I'm limiting myself. I'm not limiting myself. I've tuned into the fact that it's not aligned for me to live in that manner, having done it. And if you think it might be aligned for you and you want to give it a try, go forth. But keep in mind, it does have downsides that you do not understand at the beginning. You don't understand it until you live it. And then it can really start to damage like your critical infrastructure of your literal psyche and how you show up to the world and how you show up to life and stuff. And it can really have some damaging long-term effects. Like, it's taken a lot of effort for me to alchemize how I show up on the internet, how I sell things, how I have a business, how I view myself, how I have programmed, how we're programmed you have to be in order to be successful. I mean, so many of the top business coaches out there are going to tell you to tune into your celebrity status, tune into your, influencer energy. Like, I mean, I cannot count the amount of business programs I've been in that they basically said something like that. The problem is most of those people aren't actually living the way that they tell their like students to live and what they tell their students to do in those programs. And then when you start to think like, oh, that's the only way that I can make, more than $200,000 a year, that starts to put you in a wealth ceiling, which then needs their next program. And then that needs their mastermind. And then that needs their one-to-one coaching. And then do you see the fucking issue with the business coaching industry right now? You know what I mean? So anyways, little rant there. But got my cappuccino. So yeah, you just interview yourself. You just literally imagine yourself. This is the technique. This is one of my top techniques to get your messaging on point in your business and it's a very multidimensional technique, okay? This is going to get your messaging on point in your business and your brand, because while you're being interviewed, you're going to think about who's reading this interview or watching this interview. Who is the target market for this interview? Who are you talking to? And what are you saying to them? Which, if you are in Unlock Your Magic via Coven of One, Monetize Your Magic, or the Cosmic Coaching Collective, or if you've just purchased Unlock Your Magic, that is one of the few programs of mine that you can get separate. You can buy it by itself on the Harvest Rose Witchery store at harvestrosewitchery.com. And in Unlock Your Magic, I say, like, those are the two most important questions you will ever ask yourself in business. I ask myself that all the time, every day, multiple times a day. Who are you talking to and what are you saying? It's the most important thing. It informs absolutely everything in your brand and in your business. It informs everything in your messaging and in your positioning. It drives your strategy, your marketing, your literal offers that you create, the business architecture that you design to sell those offers, the brand architecture that you design as the template for the way that you're going to show up in the world as yourself and express that to the world. That's what a brand is, right? Who you're talking to and what you're saying drives every single aspect of all of that. Have to have it. You have to have it. It's the necessity of the season, people. Who cares about the latest TikTok skincare trends? You need to know who you're talking to and what you're fucking saying. Okay? So, yeah, you think about, who's interviewing me. I was just, I remember before I got the numerologist feature was funny. They didn't interview me. They just literally pulled everything that they could from me about the internet, and surprise, I got tagged in this feature. And that's what happens when you build an iconic legacy brand. You need people to be able to find enough about you, to write about you, to interview you. You know what I mean? If you just think that your Threads profile is going to do it for you and posting the same thing every day, subscribe to my YouTube, join my membership, follow me on Threads for more. If you think that's building a brand, it's not. That I can't write about that when I go to write a story. So that's something else. Put yourself I'm going to give you my secret for how I get interviewed. I create a brand around what I want to be interviewed for, and then I live that to such a full extent publicly that when a journalist is sitting there, there's some journalist, there's some writer, they're sitting there, and so here's how most, I'm giving you some very valuable information here. Here's how most articles that you see in things like Newsweek, most magazines like LUK, things like that, any sort of like print publication, but then also take anything that is print and put that on the internet. Any type of digital publication, any type of, website that does features, with their website, like numerologist.com, right? Has like a whole hub of all types of different information. Bloggers, what are these people looking for to feature you, to interview you? You have to have enough of a solid brand built that you will be of interest to their readers, and there will be more for the reader to go find. If you have one page on your website and it's like got no information about you on it, or it's just kind of crappy, or if you don't have an about me, this is funny because I don't actually have an about me on the website right now. Because I'm not trying to get featured in anything, because I'm in the process of finishing a 2-year-long rebrand, and I want to be left in peace at this exact moment in time. I am building the grid of the new brand, and I am connecting with the inner circle of the new brand that are going to be the people that drive the new brand moving forward on both a paid and unpaid level. I'm not looking to scale, so I'm not doing any type of interview technique or anything like that. Here's another thing. You don't want to be interviewed at the very, very, very beginning. Okay, I was interviewed at the beginnings of Harvest Rose, and it did virtually nothing for me because, and it's not that it's a bad thing to do it. I'm going to be honest. Like, I went on a couple of podcasts, and they were honestly, I wouldn't do them. I'm going to be honest. Like, you could be like, oh, but it gave you experience. Like, well, I literally have a minor in communications. I know how to speak. I know how to speak in public. I don't need to go on somebody's, I'm going to be honest, really mid podcast to learn how to be interviewed, right? But I was interviewed on a couple of podcasts, and this was literally in March and April of 2017. And I did not have a firm brand built yet. I didn't have a firm offer built yet. I still was doing the Etsy store of Harvest Rose Witchery, where I was making jewelry and, juju bags and magical candles and stuff, right? I hadn't even started focusing on readings and spell work yet. So it did nothing for me except stress me out. I got someone mansplained Yule to me live on camera. I was on camera, okay? That was it. Like, that's all it did for me. It didn't get me followers. It didn't give me any self-confidence. It actually negatively impacted my self-confidence. So a lot of people and a lot of business coaches and a lot of just narratives will tell you, you need to get in the room. You need to make yourself uncomfortable. You need to go on all of these interviews, and you need to collaborate with people, and you need to blah, 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 right? It's horrible. No, because so much of the time, what that stuff does without proper intention is it places a program on you that you then have to work to get out of, thereby feeding the healing matrix that makes you believe that there's something wrong with you that you need to fix. And this is why I've stayed in my own lane for so much of my career. This is why you will not find me guesting on podcasts. This is why you won't find me doing a ton of interviews. This is why you won't find me doing collaborations. This is why you see me do the things that I do in the way that I do them. I stay in my own lane. I interview myself. I speak to myself. I record content myself. You're never going to see me go out and sell someone else's brand for them. You know what I mean? Like, one of the current trends in the business coaching industry is telling people that they need to heal their sisterhood wounds and sell your $33 offer for you so that you can all rise together. And these people don't realize that this is MLM business architecture that was taken from an MLM pyramid scheme business architecture book straight out of the business section of Barnes & Noble, which is where this person learned how to, do business, right? Like business for dummies. So it's MLM 101. And these people, and I'm seeing a ton of people doing it. Okay, it's the in thing to do right now. A ton of these people are getting people to basically go out, sell all of these spots in their, $33 challenge or whatever. And then these people are not realizing that they could have just sold 100 spots to their own challenge. They could have just gone out and made themselves iconic from the fucking beginning. They could have just gone out and built their own damn brand instead of going out and building this other coach's brand like a fucking pyramid scheme. It's like Scentsy for business coaches. Like, it's insanity. Do you people not remember Scentsy and Lululemon or not Lululemon? What was that? It was like the dresses. It was not Lululemon. I cannot remember the name of it, but it was like they had like dresses and leggings, and I knew people with literally entire guest rooms of this clothing that was mass produced. And it was a pyramid scheme. They would buy, but they had to buy, a certain amount, and then they could, own their own business and sell leggings and T-shirts and, dresses or whatever. And they would host these Facebook lives. They would get people to sign up as affiliates under them to also sell, the candles or the Avon. I mean, it's the Avon business architecture to a T, right? We've seen Tupperware parties. It's Tupperware parties all over again. You're no better than that. By the way, if you're listening to this and you're butthurt right now listening to me, I want you to know you're no better than an Avon lady right now. And you know what? The Avon ladies paved the way for you, okay? And actually, at least own up to what you're doing, all right? At least the Avon ladies, owned it. I have mad respect for all of the Avon ladies and Tupperware, housewife sales ladies who went out there. They paved the fucking way for some shit to happen on Earth, okay? So no shade to the people who have done MLM stuff with full intention of what they were doing. It actually did open up a lot of doors for people to start working for themselves in new ways. But when you're out here claiming to be a leader in the business industry, doing things no one's ever done before. And I'm like, bruh, that's straight up 1982 Avon marketing 101. I grew up with an Avon lady as one of my birth givers, besties. She told me I was like, tell me everything about how this works. She told me everything about how it was to be an Avon lady. And she did it all while literally letting me go through her samples. And every time I left her house, she was a bit of a hoarder, bless her heart. She had a ton of really fabulous antique furniture. She also took me car shopping one time. She was really cool. But she was so fabulous. She had dyed blonde hair. She had an entire bedroom in her old Victorian house in Nowhere Antlers, Oklahoma. That was her closet. Then in the room next door, that was her second closet. Half of this lady's house was a closet. And I was like, this woman is an icon. This is the coolest shit I've ever seen in my life. I mean, could you really walk around in her house? No, but it was cool. I was like, she had maybe she had some some collector codes up in there. I don't know. She was she had makeup everywhere. She just had Avon stuff all over the place. And so I got to smell all the scents and test all the lipsticks and try all the eyeshadows. And for for the holidays, I mean, she was, because she'd get all of the samples in, you know what I mean? And I'd go over and help her organize her samples. Very Virgo moon of me. I helped this lady clean out half of her house. I was like, girl, this is not a vibe. We have got to do something about this. Honestly, it was because she had this really beautiful, brand new, very Victorian, very fabulous couch set. And I was like, girl, you need to sit on this. It was stuffed under the stairs. She couldn't sit on it, which is why I tell people this is the reason why, if you've ever been in a manifestation, if you've ever been in one of my manifestation programs or manifestation mindset or anything, this is why I use the couch analogy all the time. You've got to move the old couch out before you can put the new couch in. Because this lady, bless her heart, she didn't have her kids lived on the other side of the country or whatever, and she didn't really have anybody to help her, and she was 60-something-year-old lady. She couldn't move furniture, but so she had bought her new couch set. It had got delivered, but then they didn't take the old couch, and she couldn't figure out what to do with the old couch. So she just kept sitting on the old couch for anyways, one day she happy ending. She got to sit on her new couch set. Cause I was 10 over here, this lady's got to get her house cleaned. So when one of my covens asked last night if Virgos enjoy a trip to the Container Store, because they don't have any Virgo in their chart, but I'm a Virgo moon. I was like, wow, I feel seen. But yeah, we organized some of her closets too, and she was able to wear way more of her clothes. It was really fabulous. Yeah, it was great. I was like leading the charge for this. Like, this lady had to get her house organized. It was too pretty of a house. She was too fabulous, and she let me play in makeup and have like all kinds of samples. It was great. Anyways, so no shade to the Avon ladies. I love me some Avon ladies. I mean, or at least back in the day, like the nostalgia of the Avon lady. But yeah, like, also though, think about this. Let's take it back to the Avon ladies. The Avon ladies had to build their own brands because there'd be multiple Avon ladies in a town, right? And so there was like, I remember my grandma loved Avon, right? She loved Avon. Like half of her beauty products were from Avon, right? So, and I think it was it the Skin So Soft that you'd use in the summer because it kept the mosquitoes away, but it didn't smell like mosquito repellent. It was amazing. Yeah. I mean, it was like you could have like a beauty ritual, and they had like every product known to man in this one scent. And this one scent, it must have had like something that repels mosquitoes in it. But I lived in Oklahoma, so mosquito central in, the summer. And so my grandma would drench me head to toe, and I think it was Skin So Soft. And, you do it because we'd layer it because we do like the body wash, and then we do like the body spray, maybe a little bit of lotion, and the mosquitoes stayed the fuck away. It was great. It was fabulous, right? But my grandma only had certain people she'd buy Avon from, unless she really, really but oh my gosh, if her Avon lady was on vacation, and then like her backup Avon lady was on vacation, and then like her second backup lady, was like, I don't know, her mom was in the hospital or something, and she had to call the like fourth Avon lady that she didn't like, but she really needed some powder or whatever. Oh my gosh, I'll never forget. She'd be like, well, she'd psych herself up all day, and then she'd be like, all right, I'm going to call her. I'm going to do it. I'm going to call her. I'm going to place an order. But I'm not ordering with her again. It was so funny. Earth has been a funny time for this incarnational experience. I was born here, thank you. You know what I realized? For the versions of you, hold on. For the versions of you on other planetary locations, the Earth version of you is the alien and is the cosmic one. So, when you're bitching about being on Earth, you should actually be like, holy shit, I've added Earth human to my repertoire of multidimensional baddiedom. Right? I mean, you know what I mean? If you want to, all these people want to be out here like, oh, I'm a dragon, or I'm in this, or I'm in that. Like, yes, you are. But also, like, this place is pretty fucking weird. I mean, people want to tune into, like, the weirdness of other interplanetary locations or other multidimensional experiences. Like, I love talking about that one time I had the pink jellyfish humanoid vessel. That shit was great. It was fabulous. My hair was, like, electric. Oh, it was fabulous. I loved it, right? But also, I have a human vessel right now. I have tattoos. I have ankles, and I have toes. And toenails. And hair. And I'm on Earth doing Earth stuff. I have teeth. I have to pay the rent. Other places, they have no clue what the rent is. What's a tooth? You have to what that? You have to what's brushing? You know what I mean? Like, that's the most alien shit that an alien could ever hear. Think about it. You know what I mean? Think about, let's really start to get a little bit weirder here, people. Okay? Let's really start to expand our brain thoughts from, oh, pineapple on pizza is weird, right? That's an Earth programming. Y'all, even to go to the cosmic level, which is like 1 degree out of the Earth inception dream, You got to get a lot fucking weirder than that. These are rookie numbers. You're going to need to pump those up. Then you want to go to the bubble outside of that. That's celestial. You're going to have to completely break your perspective of all of everything. Physics don't work the same. I mean, even in the cosmic realms, physics don't work the same. Culture doesn't work the same. Customs don't work the same. You know what I mean? It's very much like right now, the majority of people on Earth are like somebody who has lived in one place their whole life, never traveled outside of that place really, and has absolutely no idea that their customs and cultures and reality is not the same for everybody, everywhere, constantly, right? It's like being locked in a little bubble. And so as multidimensional baddies, what we want to start to do is to remove ourselves from that bubble, is to let ourselves out of that bubble. And, you know, that's part of what I and my multidimensional colleagues are here to do, is to help people shift out of those bubbles. I haven't lived in a bubble like that. I've got a sigil of liminality tattooed on my left arm. I haven't had both feet planted on the ground my entire life, really, to be honest. I've never had both feet. I saw a ridiculous post the other day that was like, you'll never succeed without both feet firmly planted on the ground. And I was like, stop casting your demonic spells on me. I don't know what you mean. Physics can't bind me, and neither can you, motherfucker. Like, you know, I mean, I've lived in a world of magic my whole life. I wouldn't know what it was to have both my feet planted firmly on the ground. But, you know, if I don't put both my feet on the ground when I walk, I'm going to fall over because I'm on Earth. So it's like, I can, you know, I'm going to be honest. I used to invite the philosophers over in ancient quote unquote Greece, over to my house, you know, on like a Tuesday evening, and I would ply them with just fucking massive cheese boards. Clearly an entire olive flight. I mean, we're not peasants here, people. You know, I mean, all the things, you know, figs and dates and fabulosity. And, you know, alcohol and probably some questionable herbs. And then I'd just say random shit, and then they'd start fighting over who was right about it. And it was really funny. It was like one of my favorite entertainments. And then I'd just like recline and watch. It was great. And then at some point in the night, usually they'd start wrestling and everybody would end up in the pool. I don't know. It was a great time. Anyways, Plato was his wrestling name. Okay. So, you know, fun times. We didn't have Netflix back then. And I mean, Netflix has just gotten to where it's really not what it was once. You know, can you believe Netflix used to come in the mail on discs? Like the dark ages. It was exciting too. I remember watching Spartacus on DVD via Netflix. I think that was the first. I was like in my latter years of college. I was in my early 20s. Like, you can get what? And then like Redbox became the norm. And then everyone just started streaming everything. And why would you get a DVD? So let's talk about DVDs for just 2 seconds. So let's think about, you know, the concept of like, you know, when a celebrity goes on a press tour, right? And they are talking about things that are pertinent to what they're promoting, right? So you can imagine that your entire life is a press tour. And every single thing that you're doing is promoting your magic. And so when you're speaking about yourself in the world to literally anyone, when you're creating any piece of content, when you're typing anything, when you're talking to yourself in the shower, when you're talking to your guides, when you're, when you're writing your morning pages in your journal, when you're doing literally anything, you can tune into the concept that all of the world is your stage, right? And so you are literally living a press tour and a main character performance and directing and doing all of the things all at once, right? And so you can then begin to actually live, like, for example, you know, we went to get some coffee, and it was like a very vibey, Rigelian energy day out there today. It's like very gray. There were just some vibes flowing. So I grabbed like 3 minutes of B-roll basically while we were driving, just out the front window, you know, just out the windshield, just vibing, just, you know, grabbing some content for the library, right? No clue what I'm going to use it for, but I've got it, because I'm so tuned in to like what I'm doing and who I'm talking to and what I'm saying and what I'm creating for, that I'm constantly wanting to curate and create content that exemplifies the frequencies that I'm bringing forth. So you can utilize, and you can really get into like, how, start tuning into like how, this is one of my favorite things, is like, it's like the concept of like desert power, right? But for Earth. How do Earth people do stuff? When you see somebody getting interviewed, what are the questions that they're asked? Or what are things, what are ways that they act that maybe are like very cringe to you or very iconic to you? Or, what feels like a vibe to you versus what doesn't? When you think about putting yourself in the frequency of being interviewed, one thing that my dad told me when I was going to be interviewed by OUK, he was like, really watch what you say because they'll take stuff out of context. My dad's lived in Los Angeles and been around Hollywood like 3/4 of my life at this point in time. And so he, very familiar with like, stuff like that. And he was right. They absolutely did. They said that my secret to everything was wafting sage about. And I never even mentioned sage in any of my responses because it was a written interview and I had my own written responses to everything. And they completely made stuff up that I didn't say. Oh yeah. You didn't know that? Yeah. They actually made up like half of the interview. It wasn't even my words, which is why you won't find a bunch of this stuff on, like, I don't really promote it. I talk about it having happened, but you don't find a lot of links to it. Because honestly, like, I don't really want to link to these people's work because it was not right. It wasn't, you know what I mean? Like, I have the interview, like, they definitely embellished what they wanted me to have said because I was talking truth over here and that wasn't, I guess, recognizable enough for their very peasant readers in 2017, which is why I say really pay attention to who you're wanting to be featured or interviewed by, because your average person, I'm going to be completely honest with you, the average person is not interested in what I do, and they're not going to be, and I don't want them to be. I'm not here for the average person. I'm not. So I want people who are very aligned, that are going to be very resonant with my message and what I'm here to create and the energy that I'm here to channel into the world in the physical form. I want people coming into contact with my brand and my magic and my frequency who are in resonance with that, and that exclusively. Because I've also experienced the volume game. I've experienced talking to 100 people to get one fucking sale. I have experienced the downside of that stuff. I've had some really mean stuff said to me on the internet. I've had people stalk me. I've had people literally try to come after me and ruin my career for no reason other than just I was too successful and they were jelly little rolls. I've experienced the dark side of all of the things that people tell you on the internet that you want, but never tell you the dark side of. I've experienced it, and I'm always going to tell you that because it's like, I believe that there's a way that we can monetize our magic, that we can build this new era of non-energy vampiric based business. And I think that it comes from removing ourselves from having to go out there and feel like we have to prove that we and our magic are real to the Matrix. Banish the Matrix. I don't want to talk to the Matrix. I don't want to talk to anybody in the Matrix. I don't want to talk to rando dudes in the Matrix who make fun of the fact that I say that I'm a multidimensional architect or blah, 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 blah. Meanwhile, they have the fucking audacity to wear that color of polo shirt that fits that badly while they go out and play golf and congratulate themselves for cheating on their wives. Like, I have absolutely no interest in anything you could ever have to say to me. You are completely not in resonance with me. Goodbye. That's how I feel, right? I don't want women who are not in resonance with me. You know what I mean? I don't want them finding my stuff either. I don't want non-binary persons who are not in resonance with me finding my stuff. I actually don't want them to be able to see me. I have wards and protections and configurations put around all of my work, my brand, my name, my image, my every single aspect of everything that I use is magicked at this point in time. One, so that people who are not in resonance, it's like it's like an invisibility spell. Like I do not exist in the same world as them. And two, if anybody fucks around, oh honeys, they're gonna find out. And it's not nice. And to be honest, there are actually a couple of people out there that I know who fucked around, and they are actively finding out. So I wouldn't try it. Really wild how that shit'll work, isn't it? You know what I mean? You're flying high, thinking you're really doing something, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, help me. I fucked around. Now I'm finding out. I don't even need to know. You know what I mean? It's like on site, the wards and the shields and the spells just activate. It's like, oh, fuckery has been located. Defenses activated. I was an expert in battle magic for a long fucking time for a reason, and I'm still a fucking expert in battle magic. That shit just doesn't go away. I just don't actively want to do that anymore. You know what I mean? It used to be my daily bread and butter, and now it's like, well, I've got a few contracts out there, but it's only for very, very, very specific cosmic royals for the most part. So if you're not cosmic royalty, it's like, I just don't have a contract with you for things like that at this moment in time. Been there, done that. It was fabulous, but I've got so many other things to do now. I've got so much magic that I've got to bring to the world and so many things to record. So anyways, yeah, with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this transmission. Let's hit the bong together about it real quick, or just have a sip of your beverage, or maybe just vibe, whatever you want to do. One of the things that I will say is going to be very beneficial for people moving forward in business, monetizing their magic, building these brands that don't suck your energy dry. I can't tell you the amount of times I've just like been vibing, pantsless, recording some stuff on a Wednesday afternoon, drinking some coffee, smoking some weed. This is just what I do. I've been doing this for years, y'all. That's what I'm doing right now. It's Wednesday, 3:30. Why would I be wearing pants? I didn't build a business I run exclusively from home to wear pants on a daily basis. Like, that's insanity. I hate pants. Can't be bothered. I wear giant t-shirts anyways. It's basically like I'm wearing a dress. So, what was I going to say? I was getting my cappuccino, and I forgot what I was going to say. So that's fine. We're going to sit here and vibe until I remember, or until I decide it was not important. There was a weird energy shift outside. Did you feel it? I'm training you right now. Sometimes we record content when there's certain environmental things that are happening so that you can pick up on something, and then we can point it out and we can train you or convey codes that we wouldn't otherwise be able to convey, unlock things for you that we wouldn't otherwise be able to unlock, because sometimes being some funky energy around will unlock more for you than perfectly pristine energy. It just be like that sometimes. What was I talking about? I said moving forward, building these new businesses that aren't vampiric and suck all of our energy out. It's going to be very important to really focus on the vibrational resonance and connection that you have to the people that you desire to bring into your world. Okay, that's one of the biggest things that I will say. The right people in your brand will make it. The wrong people will break it, and they will make or break you. And vanity numbers and volume games mean nothing when you're so energetically depleted you cannot function. And a lot of people do experience that. After high levels of success, they will have these levels of burnout because they marketed to the wrong people, because they called in the wrong people, because they had sessions with the wrong people because they were into the vanity metrics of 1,000 people in my challenge and never bothered to stop and think about what that energy of those 1,000 people coming into their sphere of reality was actually going to look like for them. So that's one important, it's like what I was going to say just left. It just left. So that's fine. Anyways, guess you needed to know that. Let's see. Is there anything else I want to transmit to you today? Oh, really? I think it was literally this. It's really think about like, what are you doing here? And why are you doing it? One thing that I see that's rampant at this moment in time is what I refer to as the celebrity and the rock star wounds. And this is people who probably honestly wish they went to art school and didn't. This is people who wanted to be artists and creators from a young age and were discouraged from that, who felt like they couldn't, who felt like they didn't have artistic talent, or who felt like they had to fight with other more talented people to keep up, who ended up getting validation wounding, who ended up getting like proving themselves, lots of having to prove themselves situations. And these wounds are currently being expressed via people's businesses. These wounds are, it's like I scroll Instagram right now and I can see every single person that has a celebrity or rock star wound. Somebody who desperately wants to be seen for their magic, who desperately wants to be celebrated, who wants their name in lights, who wants the applause, right? And every single one of them, as they're scaling to millions and blowing the fuck up and blah, 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 every single one of them is missing one key thing. And that is they're not celebrating themselves. Not truly. Not for who they really are. They're not seeing themselves. They're not acknowledging themselves. They're not being who they really want to be. I can see it every time. This person wants to be generally pretty fucking weird. This is actually one of the key core contributing factors to what all of these people have in common that I see. They want to be a version of themselves that they're not. They want to be a much bigger, bolder, more expressed, wilder, freer version of themselves. And they have not realized that no amount of applause for something that is not their truth is it's never gonna be enough. No amount of other people seeing you for something that's not your truth is ever gonna be enough. No amount of validation for something that's not your truth is ever gonna be enough. And the thing that I see with these people consistently is I would say, in my actual professional opinion, if any of these people booked a session with me, if any of these people booked a VIP situation with me, I would say, I don't believe that you're living in your truth. And I see that your truth is under there, and I want to help you bring that out. And I guarantee you every single one of these people would burst into tears. I'm almost bursting into tears saying it, right? But these people aren't actually letting themselves be who they genuinely want to be. And so they're chasing millions thinking that that'll fill the hole, but nothing's ever going to fill that hole. It's like the story of the founder that has $100 million in cash and no purpose. Nothing really to do with it, or the billionaire who just keeps chasing XYZ instead of recognizing what they have and actually doing some good with it. There's no difference. There's no difference in that and someone who's desperately trying to chase validation and views and acceptance as a version of themselves that they aren't, and instead shoving the version of themselves that really wants to live on earth away. And that's what these people have in common, right? That's it. And that's why no amount of success will ever actually be enough. And that's an entirely different issue. But what we want to do is we want to avoid, that's the trap of celebrity and rock star energy, right? We want to avoid that. So, the desert power. It was the desert power. So what we want to do is we want to toe the line. I call it towing the line of the matrix. This is how I was able to do all of the things that I was able to do. My depletion didn't come from my public figureness in my career, even though it did, at one point I decided I wanted to scale a lot of things back. I wanted to start scaling things back at the end of 2019. I had my 2 most successful years as a professional witch after the pandemic hit. So, what actually ended up causing my burnout and my need to kind of step back from a lot of the things that I had been doing was, one, I've had the plague 4 times and I'm experiencing basically long plague. And so I'm very exhausted a lot of the time, but also it was all the people around me. It was the people that I had literally in my exact vibrational field of physical plane existence, and lack of resonance there. So the people around you are very, very, very important to the reality that you're going to end up experiencing. Like, I remember one morning in 2022, I realized that everybody around me was getting up, going to a job, thought that my lowest income stream was a great year if they could manage to get a job that would pay them that. And I was just over here creating it out of nothing. They were very limited. They had immensely small wealth ceilings, to say the least. And they were very uninterested in actual growth while maintaining the facade of being interested in growth and all of these other things. So it ended up just being a vibrational drain on me as I endeavored to show up for people who were actually basically just playing the whole time. You know what I mean? So you'll also notice that this will happen with people who play the volume game and their clients. Oh, yeah. So when you play the volume game, right? $33 for a month with me free, blah, 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 right? And this is here's one little thing I want to interject real quick. This is a common thing I've seen people posting on the internet. I know my offer's so high priced, but here's why I'm still undervaluing it. And the truth is, a high value client is never going to buy something that the creator of states is undervalued. They want to pay a fair price. That's all there's to it. They don't want to pay you something that's undervalued. They don't want to pay you less than. That doesn't feel like a good energetic exchange to them. And if somebody can actually afford what they're buying, they want to buy what they're buying. You know what I mean? It's like, that's a factor, okay? And part of the interview technique would equal into this. So, like, for example, are you being interviewed because your brand is, Temu, however you say it, right? Or Shein, Wish, the Dollar General, is that your brand, right? Or is your brand handcrafted artisan leather goods from the mountains of Appalachia? Is your brand luxury, one-of-a-kind, alternative fashion, handcrafted in a New York City warehouse? Is your brand hand-crocheted, one-of-a-kind crop tops, handcrafted in Miami? I've just given you 3 excessively different brands that could be embodied. Now, each of those 3 brands would be easily interviewable for a publication. I mentioned I have a communications minor, right? So a decade ago, I was living out in Los Angeles, and I thought, you know what? I really need to make some money. And I thought, I could write articles. It'd only take me I was a really fast writer at the time. I was doing a lot of writing. And I thought, I would get into like freelance writing articles for publications. Well, spoiler alert, I never got hired to do that because I ended up basically starting Harvest Rose. I ended up I was going to do that. And then I ended up moving back to Dallas from Los Angeles. And I started investing my time, instead of in writing articles, in creating the foundations for what would end up being the Harvest Rose Witchery Etsy shop a few months later. But at the end of 2015, I was doing all sorts of research about how to get hired with, writing freelance articles. And I was looking for all kinds of, job postings for, freelance writers and stuff like that in the Los Angeles area. And I was going to do it. I was like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get it, I'm going to get paid to write articles. And I figured I could, very easily write, sorry, I needed to pop my hands. I figured I could very easily write, like 2 articles a day. And I could average, several $100s a day. And then would also have plenty of time to, do my dancing and, everything else that I was doing at that moment in time as well. It was just going to be, I was like, if I could just get together enough supplementary income streams, I can make this work, right? So, I did a lot of research about how people write articles, how freelance article writing works. The majority of articles that are put together by a publication, especially a more mainstream publication these days, the majority of those articles are actually written by somebody who does freelance. That's a thing that's been going along for a long time. Now, a lot of the writers will freelance for the same magazine over and over and over again, so it kind of looks like they're a staff writer. And that's not to say there are, obviously publications out there that still have staff writers and stuff like that, but a lot of the time, these, especially like any sort of list feature, which is a lot of the stuff that people are going to reach out to you on like social media or fill out like a contact form to interview you about like for a magazine or something. It's typically going to be people putting together an article. It's kind of I'm going to be honest, they're fluff pieces for the most part. They're articles that are typically targeted at expanding reader base for the publication. So they're going to be pieces that the majority of the publication's readers are not going to be interested in. They're just going to hit a small target of a new reader base. Like, for example, why was Newsweek wanting to run an article about, the witches of Instagram in 2019? Because it wanted to hit a brand new target market. Okay, so it's marketing. If you're wanting to get interviewed, if you're wanting to get any sort of like publicity, that is marketing. So you want to have something really marketable before you even try to, to go there. And that doesn't mean like something that we take on Shark Tank, right? That just means something that like if I approach you and I want to write an article about your brand, I'm going to get an interesting article in return. That's it. That's all people are looking for. And if you haven't done the work to make your brand interesting enough for somebody to write an article about it, don't fucking expect people to interview you. I'm going to be really honest. Like, that's actually all you have to do. It's not hard. It's really not hard. You just have to put in the effort that you want. I want to be interviewed about my magic, about my brand. And then you just put yourself in that person's shoes. If I was writing an article about multidimensional reconnection and awakening to the fact that you're a multidimensional baddie that has cosmic connection to yourself across space and time, and you can access any version of yourself if you do XYZ, right? Well, I'm going to be honest. One, yes, I would be a fabulous person to interview about that. But when I look at what's actually, and this is the last bit. When I look at what's actually present on the internet about my work with that, even though it takes up 100% of my life, I have not expressed that brand to the fullest potential that I can. So what I begin to do is notice gaps in my own brand where I'm like, well, if I really want to be seen as the go-to person to talk to about XYZ, if Michael wants to be seen as the go-to person to talk to about frequencies or sound or music or channeling cosmic frequencies and creating music that does not seem earthly to activate multidimensional reconnection via music and frequency, right? If he wants to be seen as the go-to person with that, that's what he would want to wake up every single day and just pump out onto the internet, okay? You want to flood the market with you and your magic once you know what it is. You want to wake up every day and go to the internet like it's your fucking job and you're clocking in to get paid. And you will. That's my secret. That's the desert power. of the financial matrix. You wake up and your feet hit the earth. I used to envision. This is a fun little envisioning technique. Have you ever heard the phrase like, the devil works hard, but God works harder? Well, I used to wake up in the morning and think, the devil works hard, but Rose Dumaine works harder to bring magic to earth. Literally. That's what I thought every day, right? Every day I got up, right? And it was like a little joke I had with Lucy, so it was funny. It's like, bro, go ahead, pop off, whatever. But I did. I woke up and I would clock into the internet. Not literally physically clock into the internet, but it's like I approach it with a very significant degree of seriousness. It's the Capricorn stellium, and it's one of my ultimate powers. And I've been telling Michael this lately, and I've been wanting to record a podcast that was talking about this. So yay, here we are. But you have to take it seriously. You have to be serious about it. You have to form routines that support you monetizing your magic. You have to form a reality that takes your business and your brand and your magic seriously as the source of your income, as your entire life's work. And if you're not willing to do that, that's totally fine. But that's what it takes. It's not strategy. It's not another psychic session. It's not AI. It's not the dragons. Okay? It's taking yourself seriously. Literally, all you have to do is take yourself and your magic seriously. That's it. That's the vibrational hack to all of reality. Take yourself and your magic seriously, and you will get everything that you want. That's all you have to do. And it's the one thing you've been programmed your whole life to never do. Simple. You know what I mean? If you can just get programmed to not take yourself and your magic seriously in all your silliness, in all your multidimensional baddiness, in all your, I've had this thing for a long time, like with my dad, where we'll send each other like the working, where like in Austin Powers, where Dr. Evil's like working, and he's like air quotes it, right? We'd send each other like that meme. He'd send me a picture of like the pool out in LA, you know what I mean? With like the, palm trees and everything, and be like, working. Right? And I would think that all the time. But you really, it's like, but you take it, if you're working by the pool, he's also over here, trading all this freaking money. I mean, just, amounts of money that the average person can't fathom, is like the norm when you work in certain realms of finance. So if that's allowed, why am I not allowed to take my magic seriously? You know what I mean? It is. You are. And so you have to tune into, if they're going to take selling insurance and trading stocks and bonds and, selling used cars seriously, you know what I mean? If they're going to take being a lawyer seriously, if they're going to take being a human resources assistant seriously, right? They're going to take being a tow truck driver seriously, an electrician, a plumber, whatever it is. A doctor. Insert mainstream muggle job here. If you can take that seriously, if you can create a resume that's exclusively having sold shoes and take yourself seriously, why can I not take myself seriously when I'm bringing the most multidimensional magic to Earth ever? Why not? When I'm bringing the most potent herbal medicine, the most potent frequency attunements, magic, sound healing, alchemy, witchcraft, multidimensional connection, marketing, accounting, right? All of these things could be fairy tale careers in the right realm of reality. So it's up to you to take yourself and your magic seriously. If it helps, envision that like a fairy or a cryptid is interviewing you. Make it really weird, okay? Hi, Hecate is here to interview you. So tell me about your brand. You know what I mean? Like, What inspires you? What's the magic you're bringing to the world, and how are you doing it? And what are your fashion influences? You know what I mean? Like, and that's a really interesting exercise you could do for yourself. You could even sit down and you could write it out. You could record it on audio. You could record it on video, right? So instead of going out and getting yourself booked on somebody's lame podcast that like 7 people are going to listen to, and you're going to have to stress out about showing up on time, and some dude's going to mansplain Yule to you. Don't do that. If you want to go, guest a podcast that feels really aligned and you vibe with the person, absolutely do it. Otherwise, don't. Do this instead. Dress up. Get ready. Rehearse. Like you're being interviewed for insert thing here. Magazine, podcast, TV, interdimensional reality show. I do that one a lot, actually. I break the fourth wall mid-conversation with Michael all the time. And I'll be like, so this is how Michael felt in Aldebaran. Or, there we were on Earth, reliving the exact same conversation we just had on Rigel 3 nights ago in my dream. Right? I just live my life like this now. That's just what I do. And you can get there too if you just apply yourself and work hard enough at being a multidimensional baddie. It's so much more fun. So, yeah, literally you could, and you can do this while you're sitting around on your couch. Like I said, I pretend like I'm on a reality show. That's my thing now. My thing now is like, I don't want to show up for your stinking podcast interview. I don't want to have to I'm not putting on makeup. It's not going to happen. I don't want to go anywhere that I have to feel like I have to put on makeup. It's actually become a red flag for me, I've realized, when I feel like I have to put on makeup. Like when I go to the coffee shop, I love the people at the coffee shop so much. It's such a fabulous coffee shop. It's the coffee shop of my dreams. I wove this into reality, okay? I need you to know. I couldn't find a coffee shop like this in any major city, but in the middle of nowhere in the mountains, here it is, just perfect, sitting right there. I never feel like I need to put on makeup to go to the coffee shop. Nobody wears makeup at the coffee shop. Like maybe like 1 or 2 of the college girls that work there will occasionally have on like a little highlighter, but nobody wears makeup at the coffee shop. You know what I mean? And I was talking to a couple of the members of Witchery U about this the other day, and I was like, it's the highest compliment. She said, Witchery U is the only space online that I don't have thick black eyeliner or black sunglasses on. And I was like, that's the highest compliment anyone could ever give me. That you feel comfortable enough being in my space without having to have the protective glamour magic of, whether it's, eye makeup or, highlighter and things like that. But that was really cool. What was I saying? Lost my train of thought.
Huge compliment. No glamour magic.
Yeah, it was before that. Oh yeah, so you could. So I don't want to do interviews where I feel like I have to, glamour magic myself basically to protect myself, And it's funny, like if you see like my older videos, I used to always have, at the very least, my eyelash extensions were always done, which were glamour magic, thick black eyelash extensions, literally fanning any sort of disresonant energy out of my senses all the time, just attached to my eyeballs. Okay, not my eyeballs, my lids, my eyelids. That's what they're called on Earth, my eyelids. They're not called that other places, okay? So, really start to think about like what types of interviews or what types of things would be resonant for you to build your brand. You may very well find that creating your own opportunities, your own options for like basically interviewing yourself would be really fun. You can literally film content or write content like you're being interviewed. This was the last cool exercise that I thought would be really fun, is like if you wanted to tune into like, what would okay, so I'm going on a press tour for my magic and it's an astral press tour. Right? So who is going to interview me for my astral press tour about my magic, right? So, and like, what are the questions they're going to ask me? So like, what would it be like to be interviewed by Hecate versus Anubis versus a Wendigo? Like, imagine they're all interviewing you, you know, like Hecate's interviewing you for Interdimensional Witch Weekly. Anubis is interviewing you for the Beyond the Scales podcast. Hold on. I gotta do the Wendigo. Wait. What do you guys want? I'm just gonna, hold on. Let me connect with the frequency real quick. Hold on, wait. I love the Wendy boys, all right? They have got a bad rap, and I love them so much. They love to have tea parties, and they're, like, so cool, okay? There was a group of beings that are basically shapeshifters at their core coding that emulated the real Wendigo frequency. Gave them a really bad rap. Not cool. However, if you have the balls to actually go talk to these energies and these beings and these streams of consciousness and these multidimensional baddies, you can find out whether or not they actually are what people say about them. So there's a little tidbit. Rather than blindly believing what anybody says about any sort of folklore or mythology or anybody, any being whatsoever across space and time, anywhere, in any multiverse, any location whatsoever, maybe you should try just talking with them. You know what I mean? Rather than being scared. I can't handle it when people are like, don't say Wendigo. I'm like, Wendigo. I'll say it 87 more times. I can't handle people who are just like carte blanche judgy about a certain race. It rubs me the wrong way. I don't care what that race is. Wendigo's included. Just saying. It's not a look. So anyways. Rant over. Okay. And the Wendigo is interviewing you. His name's Charles. Charles is going to interview you for Underground Weekly. I don't know. That's just what he writes for. He's like, it's called a job, man. You know, so, I mean, you know, and you could, you know, those are just three, you know, of the random multidimensional baddies that popped into my head. But, you know, you could tune into whatever you want. What would it be like to be, you know, interviewed by this council versus this council? Or, you know, what are, you know, maybe the Arcturians are interviewing you and the Lyrans. What are you getting interviewed for on a multidimensional level, on a cosmic level, on a magical level, on a deity level? I mean, like, why are they, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, that's fun. That's some multidimensional baddie shit. I'm just saying. So you could then even create content for your actual brand and business inspired by the astral interviews that you have with your favorite multidimensional baddies. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to, you know, what would it be like to get interviewed by Odin about your frequencies? What's he writing for? Maybe has he got a podcast? And then we get into the really funny, like, conversation, which we're clearly going to pick up in Witchery U, about, like, okay, do you think Odin has a podcast or like a zine, like a zine? What are they? Are they zines or zine? Like, does he have like an online magazine? Does he have a podcast? Does he have a YouTube show? Does he go out into abandoned mines? You know what I mean? Like, what happens here? Oh, I laid down on the couch. Have you ever laid down? Oh my God, I've just realized I have the phone on the tripod and I could just be laying back recording. I think it's close enough. I think if suddenly I get a little disembodied, it's fine. I don't give a fluck. I don't give a fluck. Not a fluck. Not one flying fluck. That's what I'm going to say forever now. I don't give a fluck. It's a flock of fucks. A fluck.
Fluck.
I don't give one entire fluck. So anyways, on that note, go out, get interviewed by a multidimensional baddie today whoever you want. I was vibing with some of the real dragons many years ago. Thank you, Bernie. Bernie agrees. I was vibing with some of the like multidimensional baddie dragons. And they would interview me, and they had some fabulous, very probing questions, but they would like me to clarify that they don't mean that kind of probing. They just mean, thought-provoking. These multidimensional beings and fabulous baddies have very interesting questions that they will ask you. So one other thing is, as we started this recording with, this is very effective in the shower or in the bath, particularly when you start, because the water and the piping in your bathroom creates energetic grids that channel codes, and the metal enhances those grids, and then the water carries codes which flow through the metal and the grids in your bathroom, so you can actually enchant your entire bathroom to be like a portal or a vortex and deliver you all of the multidimensional information you could ever want, which is clearly what I do to every single bathroom I ever have. And I have had some of the most crazy multidimensional experiences, even in like club bathrooms. It's like they're also a liminal space. So you're really tapped into a different level of access. And then, it's funny, like, you'll get out of the shower, you'll come out of the bathroom, or get out of the bath or whatever. And then it's like you come back into like the mortal realm. You're like, oh, I have returned to Earth. Oh, yes, this is not the magical water place I was once in. You know what I mean? But then also water carries codes. Water has a neural network with other water. All water is connected to the neural network of water. All water across space and time is connected to the neural network of water, and we are made predominantly of water, which means that in or out of water, we are still connected to the neural network via water. That's why water is so important. It's also everywhere in a few forms. That's a different transmission. And water is also connected to ether and to consciousness via a multidimensional neural network of different types of fluid form to transmit information. So it gets very multidimensional very quickly. Okay. Anyways, on that note, I think I've finally transmitted everything I was supposed to say for this recording. So I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Go forth, get interviewed by a god today. Pick you could get interviewed by a unicorn. And then, think about like, what are the difference in the questions that a unicorn versus a Wendigo is going to ask, and what you're going to respond, and what that's going to unlock for you. That's really the whole purpose of this. And, the fun fact is that, there's just like an infinite amount of, interdimensional, multidimensional spirit beings out there who are like, homie, I'm here for you. Like, let's get this party started. Let me interview you about insert fabulous magic here. Like, they're just waiting. Like, guys, we have this massive interdimensional team that's here to help with everything you could ever want. If you need help, all you need to do is just say it. And this bullshit that I keep hearing, people, one of the things I see right now posted all the time on the internet, it's like, your spirit guides are not going to interfere. They're not going to intervene. They're not going to, you know what I mean? Like, you need to ask them for help, but even still, they're only going to do so much. Because, like, you're here to learn. It's school. Fuck off, please. Thank you. Your spirit guides have cosmic contracts with you to take care of your ass while you're having an immersive incarnational experience on a volatile planet that is experiencing a very multidimensional, massive, energetic, planetary, and interdimensional grid shift. Okay? So, that's not how this works, if you know that, right? They're here to do a job just like you are. They're here to help you do that job. They're here to smoke weed with you and like vibe on the astral plane. They're here to like hold you if you're having a bad day. They're here to tell you look pretty in that dress. You know what I mean? Like, they're here to tell you you're a baddie. They're here to tell you about your business plans. They're here to tell you about your past lives. They're here to tell you about all the things, right? They're here for you. They ain't got nothing else to do. The fuck? Oh, they're just going to stand here and watch you. Well, you know what? You know what? That sounds like a very ineffective multidimensional workforce. And I don't have a workforce like that, actually. I don't have a team like that. I don't have support that just stands around and watches me do it all. Excuse the fuck out of me? No, people. We don't play like that here. I have a team that supports me across all of space and time and is always there for me, even when I don't know what I need, even when I don't call for them. They still show up for me. Because think about it. Do you want to be friends with somebody that you have to always tell what to do, that you have to always tell that you need them to check on you, or that you need help, or that you need support, or that you need this or that? No, you don't want a one-sided friendship. So why the fuck would you want a one-sided spirit guide ship? That's some bullshit if I ever heard it. It's because people are literally so programmed. No, really, this person loves me that gives me absolutely no attention and, and treats me like crap. That's not your spirit guides. Okay? Thank you very much. I can't handle it, okay? My guides are my besties and occasional lovers across time and space. Yeah. It just depends on the guide, you know. And I've got different relationships with different guides, and you know, Raja's one of my husbands, and Rada is not. He's like my bro. You know what I mean? And then there's Earl Grey. And then there's Phil. We can't forget Phil. Phil's fabulous. I love Phil. You know, and there's Therapy and Therapy, and you know, they come in when you need to, like, you know, get your ass fixed in the med room. And I mean, it's just, I don't know. I don't go in for this, like, very bullshit perspective of spirit guides. Like, no, thank you. You can take your patriarchy far away from me, motherfuckers. Be gone! Vanished! So on that note, I'll see you very soon. Maybe I'll see you on the astral plane first. Maybe I'll see you back in another transmission. Maybe I'll see you in Witchery U. Maybe all of the above. I hope all of the above. Anyways, yeah, go forth, be fabulous, and get your multidimensional interviews on, people. Come on, what are you waiting on? This is like, get the spirit training going on. You know what I mean? Like, what I was trained in witchcraft by spirits. I was trained in, but my most effective business advice has never come from a business coach or someone on the physical plane of existence. That's why my work is so different. I channeled it all. When I say I just work here, I mean it. Like, I'm an extremely powerful psychic channeler and an oracle. Like, I open my mouth and words come out. And then I'm like, what did I say? Like, damn, this bitch spitting. I ain't got no memory of this. Yes, that's what I want to be. What is it like to channel the most potent information and codes known to man in multidimensional reconnection, baddiedom, luxury witch shit, and business? And then have no memory of it afterwards and be like, wow, this is some stuff. Like, well, man, it's pretty cool. You know, I just work here. I'm just sitting here pantsless. 7th year in a row of sitting here pantsless. No one but just me figuring out what I'm going to monetize magically next to pay my bills. I'm drinking a cappuccino. It's French vanilla. Double vanilla. I'm about to hit the bong. And this is my life. You know what I mean? Wow, well, no wonder my marketing, like everything I want to do with marketing-wise, is so much more vague than it used to be. Because the truth is, like, I'm vibing, man. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just, you know. But I would want to lean into that. So you know, imagining yourself being interviewed when you really show up as you truly are, to just wrap this all up in a nice little bow, when you truly show up as you really are, right? I answered I imagined someone was interviewing me right then and asked me that question, and that's how I would respond. And to tell you the truth, I'm going to be honest, on Earth right now, that doesn't make me a terribly interesting interview. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just vibing. But if I make that part of my brand, if I turn that into the brand, if I take that one nugget, it was just one question. I didn't do an 18 question extravaganza. It was just one question. That one question just gave me enough information to go out and completely change the way that I'm showing up entirely. I'm not the version of me that, showed up in the physical realm wearing lots of clothes and jewelry and makeup multiple times a week. I'm like, oh, I went to the coffee shop today. That was a lot of interaction for me. Now I'm going to sit here and talk to a recording for 90 minutes. And then next, I'm going to go hit the bong again. Maybe record some frequency language transmissions. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I might do nothing. I'm not sure. You know what I mean? But most people don't actually know what I mean. So that alone creates a standout brand for me. Most people don't live I live a very relaxed lifestyle. You know what I mean? That doesn't mean, I think I got 5 hours of sleep last night because I woke up at 8 a.m. and I had multidimensional shit to do. But I don't wake up with an alarm clock. I don't have a schedule. I don't have anywhere to be. I do what I want. I have the ability to go spend $100 on a random Wednesday at my local coffee shop if I want to. I have a huge amount of creative and mental freedom. I don't do things I don't want to do. I'm never around people I don't want to be around. I don't talk to people I don't want to talk to. I don't do anything I don't actively want to do. Which sounds insane, but it's true. So that's a pretty stand-apart brand. Most people don't live like that. So if I just really tuned into that, you know what I mean? And why did I do this? I did this because as much as I used to enjoy my schedule, I needed to have the ability to do the interdimensional work that I'm here to do while simultaneously bringing all of the information through that I need to bring through for my people so that they can fully multidimensionally reconnect with absolutely everything that they need to. And part of that is monetizing your magic, because you can't fully immerse yourself into the magic of you until you've monetized your magic and you're no longer worried about how to keep the lights on. It's just how that works here. It's the game we're in. So that's just the game we play. I'm here to help you acclimate to the game that you're in and play it. I'm a micro specialist for a reason. I'm here to help you really hone into that desert power. How do you tune into, and that was what I was talking about, right? It was like, you think about how would somebody respond to something? How would a press tour run on Earth? How would an interview run on Earth, right? And then toe the line of that matrix, but make it multidimensional so that you're tuned into a frequency that resonates for you. So instead of imagining being, interviewed by like some rando muggle, just trying to write an interview that gets them their next job, right? You're being interviewed by Hecate or, whoever you want. That's way more fun. You're being and another bonus on top of this, see, it's very multidimensional. You can do so much with this. Interview your future self. So you can literally go in and you can be like, okay, Michael, 5 years from now, how's our life? It's fabulous. And what did we do to get here? And your future self will literally tell you stuff and give you information. And you have to be open to having a multidimensional connection with them. A lot of the time people will be like, well, I closed my eyes and I tried to, talk to myself or see myself or, I hear people say this, right? I tried to access my Akashic records or I tried to see my past lives and I saw nothing, right? And I'm going to be really honest with you. It's because you didn't want to. That's actually all it is. I know. Hard problem to solve here. You're the problem. I love you, but you're the problem. You don't want to see it because something is sticking in there and telling you future you's mad at you. Current you's not doing enough. Past you's mad at you. Current you's not doing enough. This is also common with people trying to connect with their higher selves. Well, I closed my eyes and I tried to connect with my higher self and I didn't get anything. I closed my eyes and I tried to connect with my spirit guides and I didn't get anything, right? I hear the exact same story about all of these different things. You're afraid your spirit guides are mad at you. You're afraid your higher self's mad at you. You're afraid you haven't done enough. You're afraid you're not accomplished enough. It's all of this earth bullshit. So if you're having connection problems, you're the problem. I love you, but you're the problem. And the source is one of those places, and it's somewhere in your earthly incarnational experience from right now. It is not from any of the bullshit that people will tell you it is. It is from something that happened to you this lifetime that told you that you weren't XYZ enough. And it's from someone in this incarnational experience that told you that you weren't XYZ enough. You weren't trying hard enough. You weren't committed enough. You weren't this. You weren't that. You needed to do better. You needed to do more. You needed a blah, blah, blah. It was somebody who made you feel like you couldn't show up in your magic, like you couldn't speak your truth, like you couldn't be who you really were. And you are projecting that onto your higher self, your Akashic records, your spirit guides, your past lives, your future self, your multidimensional others, your multidimensional significant others that you're trying to manifest. When you can't connect with your multidimensional husband, your multidimensional wife, it's because you have done something or something has happened and you are convinced they're mad at you for it. You're convinced they're judging you for it. You're convinced that blah, blah, you're really XYZ. They're pissed at you. You're not good enough. You had this relationship one time with this person that you knew you shouldn't have been in a relationship with, but you really missed them and you were anyways, and now you just know they hate you. And they're like, bro, I already knew that was going to happen. It was on the plan. And all of those programs, you don't need to do any work to alchemize them. You need to put them in the fucking trash can, tie up the bag, go throw the bag in the dumpster or the can outside, and let trash collection come and take it and never think of it again. That's all you need to do. You don't need to hire another reader or healer or blah, blah, blah. I'm not even going to try to sell you anything about this, okay? I'm going to tell you, throw it in the trash can, take it outside your dwelling, energetically envision yourself throwing all these shit programs into the trash can, into the interdimensional trash can. It's going into the interdimensional trash compactor, people, okay? It's going outside of the spaceship. It's going, we don't give a fuck where, but we're never going to know and we're never going to care. Okay? That's it. Done. Moving right along. And every time you feel those programs surface, sometimes we find, like, the other day I was cleaning this, like, corner of our kitchen that collects stuff. You know what I mean? It collects the weed receipts and, you know, the arts festival schedules and the farmers market schedule and the this and the that and the other and the, you know, the raffle tickets from the dispensary. And, like, we've got this one drawer. Everybody's always got that one drawer. You know what I mean? That one drawer that you have to periodically clean out, like the bottom of your purse as well. You know what I mean? There are these places that they just attract surplus stuff. We think we want it for a minute and then we're like, no, we don't. You know what I mean? And then we just throw it away. I was just throwing everything away the other day. And that sometimes but I cannot count the amount of times I've cleaned out the junk drawer in my life. I can't count the amount of times I've cleaned out my purse in my life. I have no emotional attachment to it. Like, oh, my purse is full of receipts again. I got to throw these away. Do you have, you don't have an emotional attachment to that, right? You don't need to go hire a coach to clean out the bottom of your purse. If you do, no, you don't. You need to go hire a therapist. Okay? You don't need a coach to clean out your junk drawer. You don't need a coach to clean out the bottom of your purse. You need to throw away the junk, and you don't need a coach to throw away your shitty programs. You need to identify your shitty programs for yourself and throw them away. That's it. Pay a coach for something else. Get a coach for something creative and fabulous that's going to expand you and stimulate you and get you to think outside of the box. Not a coach for throwing away your junk. But sometimes we need some help to throw away our junk. You know what I mean? Or sometimes, like this one time, we had to pay for a dumpster twice to throw away a bunch of stuff out of Michael's grandma's house. So sometimes you do need a container to hold things. Sometimes you need to buy a new trash can. You know what I mean? So that might be a reason why you might find that you want to invest in something to hold maybe some of these programs, right? And then that would indicate that potentially a coach or a mentor or a guide or a facilitator of some sort would be of benefit to you. And if that's a choice made with intention, then abso-fucking-lutely do it. You know what I mean? But that's the difference. Did you hear what I just said? If I just need to go clean out my purse, I don't need a coach for that. I don't need a dumpster to go clean out my purse, right? But if I wanted to clean out an entire 3,000 square foot house, I might need a dumpster for that, or I might need to get some assistance to come help me with that, right? I might need some extra hands to help hold all of that stuff, or to help me process that stuff, to help me go through that stuff, right? And both are true. There is no polarity here. There is no right or wrong. There's intention, and there's focus and clarity of that intention. That's it. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this transmission, and I'll see you very soon.